Is Islam taking over Europe? Of course it is. That's the whole point. I've got to face the fact that when the Muslims were attacking Vienna, and Vienna fell in, whether it was in 1453, Vienna, it didn't fall, it was attacked. The Caliph wrote to the head of the Rome, the Christian Empire in Europe, said, I am coming to beat you up. I'm coming to eliminate you. Crucified Christ. I am going to beat you up until you are going to disappear. And so that's why we have the Battle of Vienna, Poitiers, all around Europe. They're trying to keep the Islam out. But now the Islam in India, at least 5 million in Germany. So I was speaking to a German recently. He said that the key things are being taken over. I was actually even in Germany a long time ago as a guest arbeiter. It means guest worker. I was a worker. Actually, I did work at a time in Germany, and I know that the Islam was taking over there. They were importing Turkish workers, so the Turks and the Islam is gradually taking over Germany, according to him. And if you go to England, just only 2 years ago, the Prime Minister of the three countries, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, were all Muslims. So I mean, it's a fact they are taking it. And if you go to the prisons, the inmates of the prisons in England are all about 10% Muslims. And if you go and become you're a prisoner, you quickly become a Muslim, because they take over in any place where the Muslims are predominant. They take over. So I am now not sort of saying, anti-Islamophobia or something, but we've just got to face the fact that they actually are taking it. For the first 1,500 years, the whole of, from England all the way to the Great Wall of China, it was basically Catholic Christianized. Then the Muslims come, and because of the Greek Orthodox, because they left the Catholic Church, we've just got to remind ourselves. If you leave the Catholic Church, you're out in the wilderness. You got lower. So that's what happened. As soon as the Greek Orthodox left the Catholic Church, Islam came. If the Greek Orthodox hadn't left the Catholic Church, there'd be no Islam, because it couldn't have come in. But when they kicked out the Catholic Church, and because they said even just as a passing, we'll remind ourselves, one of the reasons for the success of Luther was Luther sought the help of the Muslim. Though the Reformation, one of the powerhouses of the Reformation was Islam. Because they said, we prefer the fairs or whatever it is of the Muslims to the might of the Pope. In other words, the Protestants at the time, they were saying they preferred the Muslims to the Catholics. They said, because the Muslims only worship one God, and these Catholics, the Protestants, we are supposed to be idol worship and all this. So as a result, one of the engines of the Reformation and why it was so easy for Luther to take over is because they were supported by the Muslims. So anyway, to cut a long story short, at the moment, in all the European countries, you've got substantial numbers of Muslims, because they're clever people, the Arab people. For example, when the Muslims were kicked out of Spain, they went down, because they kicked out the Catholic Spain, they kicked out the Muslims and they kicked out the Jews. Well, they were the two clever people. So when they kicked out the Muslims, they kicked out the Jews, the irrigation problems and all sorts of problems started, and they were left with these local stupid Spaniards, basically. And as a result, we have the Spanish problem. So that is the same as that's why we'll remember why. The reason why America had the atomic bomb is because Germany kicked out the Jews. So, but just in passing, as a matter of fact, I wasn't so aware of it, but when the Catholics kicked out the Jews from Europe, they went to the Ottoman Empire, and in other words, the Ottoman Empire, and they said that the head of the Jews said that the head of the Islam was like Cyrus. They were the anointed of God, and this was the end of the world, and the Jews were given complete freedom. Whereas in the West, the Catholics were burning them and chopping them up. So anyway, At the moment, we've got this problem of Islam in Europe. Every place they're running around. So I think, just in passing, there is actually one way of dealing with the problem. That's called abrogation. In other words, if you take the Quran, in the Quran they have about 100 verses where they say chop up the Catholics, cut off their heads, etc. Now abrogation, they have an authority. They say, okay, get rid of these verses. So if you have the Quran and you don't have these verses, they become innocuous. So let's ask them to abrogate the Quran, because at the moment, a good, nice little Arab or Islam boy, he's very holy and he looks at the Quran. But if we got rid of those verses, the problem's solved.